Welcome to this Flow360 training webinar. Today we are going to be looking after your assets. In particular, in this session, adding assets and setting up your site. I'm logged in currently as Tim. I'm logged in as a manager using the Pro layout for the start screen option. So I have 12 buttons here. As you know, you can configure these any way you like. And we are going to drill down into a new site that I've started setting up. So I've added the site record here for Western School, but you can see there's nothing else here. On the Sections tab, there's nothing yet entered. And what I want to put in place is just a basic structure that covers buildings and grounds. And in order to do that, we need to start adding sections to the site. So here on the Sections tab for Western School, we're just going to add those two sections. I'm going to click the plus button here and it confirms at the top what I'm doing. It's worth keeping an eye on that when you're adding assets because it just confirms what level you're currently at. And we're just going to add buildings as one level, one section, and then I'm going to do plus new, which it's essentially the same as clicking the confirm and then adding another one. So I'm going to do plus new in order to add a grounds section. So I've added buildings, I've added grounds, and I now click confirm, and we've got those two sections added here. Now I can see immediately that I've actually got a typo in buildings, and I just want to show you how we can change that quickly. So buildings is what it says rather than buildings. I can click the change name button here and I can edit the name and click change. Note when you do that, whenever you change the name of an object, that the name change is logged as an event. So typically room names may well change from one year to the next, and it's useful just to keep track of when that was changed and by whom. So let's go back up to Western School site and we'll drill into the buildings section, and we're now going to start adding some buildings. So once we're down here, this is the asset level. Assets are typically buildings or defined areas of grounds if we were looking at the grounds section of the site. And in this case, we're simply going to add a couple of buildings. So we're going to say main building is going to go in as one. And I don't need to add anything else unless I want to. We can add in a sort of reference number for the building if we want to. So we can say WS, so it's Western School / main building. And then I'm going to add another building. So again, instead of saying just confirm, we're just going to add another one as well. So main building has already been added. We're going to add a science block, and we'll put a reference here of WSSB. And let's just add an art and drama. So we'll do art and drama, and again we'll just put a reference against that as well. So now if I click confirm, we should see those three buildings have now all been added, and indeed there they are on the assets tab. And you continue building up your structure in that way. Now the way in which you structure your site is quite important, requires a little bit of consideration before you just dive in. And you need to consider what makes good sense from the point of view of members of staff accessing your site, what's going to look logical to them in terms of finding locations, finding objects, but also what makes good sense from a management and administrative point of view. So that bears a little bit of examining before you actually dive in. Let's go on down. I'm going to drill on down now into the main building. And we're going to start adding some floors and then some rooms and then some objects in rooms. So we're looking now at the zones tab. So zones are internally things like floors, so ground floor, first floor, basement, so on. Externally would also include things like external elevations, roofs. So let's just click the little plus button here and we'll add ground floor first of all. And then we'll do plus new, and we'll add in the first floor. I'll try and spell it correctly at the same time, it's always useful. And then we'll add in second floor, and we'll leave it at that. So we've added the three floors in. Let's go to the ground floor, and we will add some rooms to the ground floor. So I'm now looking at the record of ground floor. Remember again this breadcrumb trail at the top that reminds you where you are. So we've got Western School buildings, main building, ground floor, that's where we are. And we're looking at areas. Areas would be rooms, circulation spaces, stairwells, those sorts of things. Any sort of defined space that's separated by a door, typically when we're inside buildings, that's separated by a door from another space would be its own defined area. So we're going to go into the ground floor. We'll do this very simply. First of all, we'll do room 1 and give it a reference of 001, and we'll do plus new, and we'll do room 2, and we'll give it a reference of 002, and we'll just confirm it. So that's exactly the same process. You can see at whatever level we're at, just adding the assets is a very straightforward thing to do. How about if we want to just add a building, add a floor, add some rooms, and then add objects in rooms, and we can drill through the whole of that process just going level by level by level all in one go. So let's just have a look at doing that. We'll go back to buildings and we'll add a new building. Let's add the music block. So we'll go here and we'll say music block, and we'll give it a reference. And now rather than clicking plus new, which would be to add another building, or simply confirm, which just puts this block in and takes us back to the list, we can do plus child. So plus child will enter the music block as a new asset and drop us down a level. So now it says we're adding a zone for the music block. So we've dropped down a level and we can add ground floor straight away. And again, just worth just checking typing. And again, rather than just clicking confirm or plus new to add another floor, we'll go on into the ground floor by clicking plus child. And now it says add area for ground floor. And we'll add a room 1 to the music block. And then, of course, we might add another one. And we'll add another room, again, for the music block. And then maybe we want to add some objects to the room. So again, we're just looking at adding room 2. If we click plus child, that's going to register room 2 and drop us into room 2. And now it says add an item for room 2. So maybe, we're in the music block, let's add a piano. And you can see, then we can go on down and we start adding components and so on. I'm going to cancel that, I'm not going to do that. But we've got here music block, and we've now got the ground floor, and we've now got room 2, and room 1, and in room 2 we have the piano, and we could go on down and add component levels or other information to the piano. So whilst we're looking at the record for the piano, what about this custom data bit? So custom data in Flow360 is pretty much anything, additional information. We've got a details box here, so we can say that this is a grand piano. Just to put that in. But if you want to use things like manufacturer, model number, serial numbers, colours, paint codes, ID tags, any of those sorts of things, really those should go into custom data, because that is structured information that we can then search on, and we can find all objects with the same manufacturer or the same colour simply by searching from the main start screen. So let's add in some custom data here by clicking the plus button here. And you can see we have some options here. So let's say this is a Yamaha piano, and we'll hit confirm on that, and that adds manufacturer Yamaha to that. If we wanted to add, say, a serial number to that, let's put that in. And we'll click confirm on that. So now we've got an object in a room with a manufacturer name and a serial number. There is no limit to what you put in terms of custom data, and you can even use custom data tags to identify sets of objects that are spread across the site. It allows you to pick them all up together as a group, and you can even assign groups of objects to teams for those teams to look after. Typically, IT teams, for instance, would have access, sort of management access to all of the IT equipment across an entire site, and that's one way of doing it, using the custom tags. So just to prove that we can search for all of that, let's jump back to the start screen. I'm going to go to my sites button, which of course has my quick find in, so I can type in room 1, and it's going to give me a list of room ones. Well, it's found loads because we've got 102, 103, 104, and we've got this across multiple sites. If we look for piano, let's get it spelt correctly. We've only got one piano anywhere on any of our sites currently, and that's the one that we've just added. If I want to search for this sort of information, the custom data information, I need to check that my search is extended into the custom data area. So if I now say Yamaha in custom data, then it's searching all of this information in addition to searching the basic name information. And that allows me to very quickly locate the Yamaha piano as the object. And of course, if we were then going on to register a fault or a help desk issue, service request against this piano, we could just click the little help desk button at the top there, and it pre-fills the form for a new issue down to piano, and I simply say, what is it do I want done, and click the confirm button to log out. So, adding assets, very simple thing to do. I will make the point at this stage that we can also import assets from an Excel spreadsheet. So if you have existing assets in a spreadsheet in structured form and you simply want to import that, populate your site, we can do that from a spreadsheet. Get in touch with us, support at flow360.net, and talk to us about how we can do that in order to help you get your assets into the system more quickly. Typically then, once assets are added, there are two things that are going to start happening. One is that people will start logging help desk issues or service requests, and you already see now how quick and easy that is, and we deal with that in other webinars. But let's now have a look at adding standard scheduled tasks. This is the PPM stuff, planned programs of maintenance. And we're going to do that, and we're just going to add a service task. Let's pick up our minibus, in fact. So I'm just going to search for minibuses here, and we've got some minibuses in the system, and I just want to add a task for this minibus, and the task is going to be to service it because its annual service is due. We want to set that up in the system so that it's logged there and we will be reminded of it in future. So currently on the tasks tab for the minibus, there's nothing there. There are no tasks. We're looking ahead 6 months on my list, and there's nothing scheduled for the next 6 months at least. So I want to add in a service that we need to do next week, and click confirm here. Yes, I do want to add a task for the minibus, and the action is simply a service. Now we could say this is a one-time only, but in fact if this is an annual service, then we can specify that at this time, and we can also put a number of hours required against that so that we have some sort of idea of how long the minibus might be out of action for whilst that is happening. Priority is fairly high. We need to keep the minibus serviced in order to keep it running properly. So that's now all set up, and I can just hit confirm. So we've now added that service task for the minibus in this particular location. And services and scheduled tasks, all of the bits and pieces that make up your planned program of maintenance, all of those planned actions come together, and when you go back up, say, to the site level and you look at the tasks tab, what we're seeing is all of those planned actions that have been assigned to all of the different locations, resources, objects across the entire site that are due within the next 6 months. And of course, I can simply use a filter in order to refine that list. So one way of doing that is to say, well, let me just find the electrical activity that's due, say, in the next, let's go for the next 6 months. And that will include, by default, that pulls in things that are already overdue. So we've got some services against computer equipment. We've got some light fittings that require overhaul. And other bits and pieces, and we've got some lights also that are due for renewal, and other replacements, extractor fan, unit service, and so on. So all of that is your planned program of maintenance, and we can pull off reports based on that. So we've now refined this list down just to the electrical activity. Let me just get a summary of all of that, say by asset level. That's the building level, remember, asset level and priority, and there we can see the planned program of activity, all of those different services, replacements, overhauls, that are in the schedule for electrical works neatly brought together in a report output that's easily read and easily distributed and shared with other people. And of course, where we have costings against that, we can also include costs, both in the list when we filter the list through, but also in the report outputs. So having added all of these scheduled activities, let's have a look at what we do with them from this point on. A lot of these are on repeats, and in fact it's useful at this point just to have a look at what's in the list, just to confirm what it is we're looking at here. So a few buttons at the start. This is an omit button that allows us just to drop this scheduled task off the list temporarily. It doesn't delete it, it just sort of removes it from view for the time being. This little pop-up just gives us access to a little bit more outline information, including the fact here that we've got some default intervals set for this particular service, which I'm just going to confirm. And then we have the name of the task itself. This little button, the go-to button, of course, will take us to the task record. When it is due, in this case overdue, which is why it's got a red flag. If we scan down further down the list, we've got some that are green that are showing us in progress. These have already been issued out on works orders, not yet completed for some reason or other. We've got this service on a heater that's scheduled for July this year, so that's not yet due, and that's got a cream colour. This one's showing yellow because this is scheduled for June. That's getting closer, so it's already showing up as a sort of first stage warning. Be aware of this one that's coming up, and that's not yet been done, and maybe you want to start thinking soon about putting that out on an instruction to somebody so that it actually gets done in time. In order to generate then a works order or even an inquiry, but we're just going to go and do a simple order, I'm going to use the send button here. This is the same icon that we see on the help desk issues when they come in and we need to send that off-site or internally as a works instruction. And all that's happened is that it's brought forward now, having clicked the send button, it's brought forward all of the items that are on that list that are in theory due. And I can start picking those up by clicking the little target button and dropping them down into the selection list. So let's just that one we just need to confirm. It's still got some default intervals set, so let's just confirm that and then add it to the list. And in fact what we can do is verify all of these 11 items, and some of them have been dropped off because they're not yet ready to execute. We're just going to add them to. So we basically end up with a list of scheduled tasks that we can build up into the set of tasks we want to send on this particular works order. And then I'll click the confirm button. And it is an order that we want to send. When do I want work to start? Well, I'd like work to start in a week, please. So that will put in a week. And this is going as an order externally to one of my outside contractors, Prime Maintenance. And I'll click confirm on that. So propose new order list. I could add a purchase order number at this point if I need to, or I could even ask finance to provide me with one. In fact, I don't need to do that for this particular order, so I'll just say send order to Prime Maintenance now. Yes, please. So that drops me back to my start screen, and I've now got here a new works order, order 658 with those 5 line items on it that's now gone out to Prime Maintenance. It's automatically picked up some documents that it's attached to the order, site plans, asbestos register information, and so on. I can get a chart breakdown, of course, which isn't really going to show us anything very much yet, other than it's all sort of 100% confirmed, 100% electrical. And that order is ready to go. We will deal with the intricacies of sending orders another time, but this webinar today is about assets, adding assets, and scheduling tasks initially. And I hope that's given you a bit of an insight and a good start to how easy it is to add assets to Flow360, how to set up a simple service task for them, put it on a repeat schedule, and then send a collection of tasks out together as a works instruction to a service provider or contractor. Thank you for your time today.